Yesterday was bad. I don't think.
This. Ready? Very small and edgy. Edgy and small. Edgy and small, that is good. Yeah. Let it go there. Yeah, there you go.
It's definitely recording.
Yeah, I tested it. Go. Let it stay on that edgy quality the whole way. Yeah, there you go. Very nice. Keep the volume very low. Edgy. Edgy and low. Quieter at the top. Very nice, there you go. Let it go there. There you go. That one was thinned out properly. Yeah, a little bit more air. Find the balance between that and the one that's a little bit loud. Yes, come on there. Yeah. See if you can start from here. Not that grog. Yeah, there. You got to start there and get to that top bit. Yeah. Just breathe a little bit more air through the whole of it. Yeah. Now, it's pretty much there. A little quieter at the top. There you go. And that on the way down, that was perfect. Quiet and small, but not too much. Not too much. There you go. And again. Good job. Very small at the top. Let it go towards that at the top. So you can get back to that small spot at the top whilst keeping the bottom. Good job. That was nice. There you go, that one. Good. Get up there. Very nice, that one. Very nice. So it's all good. A little bit quieter and smaller as you get into the top. You've got to kind of balance out. You're trying to balance out keeping that same pathway whilst just trying to back off it enough so that it thins out quite easily.
na na na.
Make that na edgy and clearer and more. I want it to sound like na 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 na. No mumbling. Let's do it here.
Sorry.
Very nice. Just want a nice contrast between the two exercises. The first one's small and edgy, and then kind of get aggressive with the na. There you go, very nice. Good job. Right, so yeah, we're kind of fiddling around just at that in this you're getting through that, starting to get through that second bridge now, like in the right way. Yeah, we've had to fiddle a little bit. You felt it's like this funny balance between we've got to kind of push just enough air, but we've also got to make sure the volume isn't creeping up. But if we pull back too much, it will kind of disappear or get all funky on us. It's like this tricky little pathway to navigate. But we got through there on a clean sound, and then we came down, which is good.
But it does feel like a pathway, like the last lesson we had as well with I think it was the birds, boo, but it's like this place when it feels like it's going right. It's like, oh my god, it's like that. You know that thing that's what do you call those things where you go around with metal, and if you touch the metal, it goes bzzz.
Yeah.
It's like that. You've got.
It's like you're trying to kind of thread it right through this thing.
As soon as something goes wrong, it makes it.
And as you get better and better, the hoop that you are moving along gets bigger and bigger, so it feels like there's more and more space. But at first, when you first find it, it feels like a tiny little. Let me get this. It feels like you've got a tiny little hole in this hoop, and you're like this. You're like, and like any little movement, like you get it off. But as you get better, that hoop grows. Yeah, I know we're going to be doing other analogies here, but the idea is that the hoop grows, so you've got much more margin for error, and that's the experience. As your skill level develops, you become more. It feels more comfortable. Well, another one I've used before is, at first it feels like you're walking a tightrope, but as you get better, that tightrope turns into a slab of pavement that you've got a lot of room to work with. But that's good that we got through, starting to get through second bridge in the right way, because we've had it on really tiny sounds, and then it's kind of always pushed a little bit, but you're starting to find more of that balance through there, which is good. Which means your skill level is increasing. Right, let's go from that to this, because let me get the levels right on here, just so it doesn't go too crazy when you're playing the guitar. Right, your own material, the stuff that you do. In fact, let me move this a little bit away towards me, so we've got a bit better balance. Your own music. Yeah. When you're doing your shows, you seem to have a kind of core group of songs that you do that are like, these are your kind of showcase material type songs. Like, I'm guessing they're the ones on your EP, are they? Yeah. Are those the ones you play most of the time, like when you do your live shows? Not like your cover stuff, but your your
They're the
own
ones
stuff.
that I play.
Yeah.
They're the only ones that
Okay.
I've got. Like,
Cool. And
ready.
which ones of those has got like, say, the hardest, like the parts where I remember when I watched you recently, it was like, there's a few little bits where I was like, oh, we can work on that a little bit and try and get it a little bit easier for you. You're hitting all the coordinations, but a couple of times I felt like it can be even easier. It's easy now, but it can be even easier. So maybe we'll go for those. Yeah. Do you know the bits?
I know the bits that I find. Well, essentially, it's like the high notes in the songs.
There will be some, yeah. I had a line in my head this morning that I was thinking of. That's one of them. But it's usually like some higher parts in the chorus. Just go through one and like a section that you think is.
Oh yeah.
You had to go through whole songs, but just pick out a chorus or something. Because I'll remember as we do it.
Swim deep, swim wide, swim all the time. 'Cause I don't wanna feel like everybody has died. Swim deep, swim wide, swim all of the time.
I mean, I remember that that's one of the best ones you do now. I remember when we first did that, and that heady stuff was all airy, and your face was like, and it was always felt a bit pulled up. Now it's like coordinated so much better. Show me another ones of the ones you do. Because I'll pick it out when I hear them.
Was it?
It's the ones it's with the full voice stuff, and one of the choruses or bridges.
Comfort my body.
Yeah.
Comfort my soul.
Okay, yeah, this is...
Make believe all of my own.
Yeah,
This
okay.
is all.
So let's do this all. Think of all when you say it, rather than all of my all. Go towards all and see if you can get it right on that pure vowel, because that will help you narrow it down. Then you can open it up a little bit. But also, let's do it quietly. So you can slow it down a little bit, and I want you to sing it very quietly. See if you can just do it quietly and edgy. You know, like we're just doing on the keyboard a little bit. It's like, do it quietly and edgy. See if you can control it and finesse it. So do the come feel my body, come feel my soul,
Comfort.
all of my comfort. Yeah, come feel. I prefer come feel my body. Yeah, this
Comfort my body.
quieter
Comfort my
though.
soul.
Yeah, more than.
And make believe all of my own. This is all.
Yeah. So let's do that again. That all. Now, what you got to pay attention to a little bit is, as you go into that all, you want to finesse it so that the volume stays just very even through there. Now it crept up a smidge, not much. It wasn't pulled much, but it crept up a smidge. I want it to be completely controlled, so you feel the coordination working on that low one. That was perfect though. That's how I want you to practice that. Do it again.
Comfort my body, comfort my soul, and make believe all of my own. This is all.
Now when you compress into that and you do it louder, that's the balance and evenness you want to be feeling. Because right now sometimes there's a little bit of a setup and it kind of resets a bit as you kind of anticipate all of my, and it feels like it could be a little bit easier. But that there's perfect. Do it again. I want you to do that a few times.
Comfort my body, comfort my soul, and make believe all of my own. This is all.
Yeah, you got no idea. Just your ability to do that, like you wouldn't have been able to do that like a year ago, 2 years ago. Like it was totally out of control in comparison to what it is now. Do it again. But feel how balanced it is.
Comfort my body, comfort my soul, and make believe all of my own. This is all.
Yeah, now when you go, so we'll do it a bit thicker now. As you go into it fuller, you want to have that same feeling of balance. Yeah, like it kind of, what I kind of, when it goes correctly, it almost feels like everything just sits in the same place and it doesn't reset just before, or kind of shift a little bit just before the high note. It's that shift or that anticipation and that change that creates the problem that then we try and fix with the anticipation, if that makes sense. So it's always this kind of self-reinforcing loop where there's a problem, and because there's a problem we anticipate I've got to do something. I've got to set up and get ready for the problem, to deal with the problem. But we don't realise that setup, that in our head, is what creates the problem in the first place a lot of the time. So, when you do it under control and low volume, there's less sense of that getting ready for the higher note. That's the kind of end goal of it. You can rehearse it at low volumes to give yourself a reference point for how it should feel. Then you compress more and you just execute it the same, but and kind of just trust the coordination. So do it once more in that small sound, and then we'll go straight into it with the more compressed sound.
Comfort my body, comfort my soul, make believe all on my own, this is all.
Yeah, that's how it's got it. So do it more compressed now.
Comfort my body, comfort my soul, and make believe all on my own, this is all.
Yeah, so that one slipped a touch, but it was much better. So just, again, do the same thing again. See if you can just focus on working on that little detail.
Comfort my body, comfort my soul, and make believe all on my own, this is all.
Yeah. Now, as you get more comfortable with that, we're doing all. You can widen it towards kind of al if you want to, but the idea is at first we don't want that widening to be a kind of a technical compromise. We want it to be, is that off? How do I turn that off? There we go. We want it to be a choice that we're making rather than a kind of compromise, because we can't get in there narrow. So again, do it quiet and then lean into it a little bit.
Comfort my body, comfort my soul, make believe all on my own, this is all.
Let's try that one again. That one widened a touch.
Comfort my body, comfort my soul, and make believe all on my own, this is all.
Cool. Now a little bit louder.
Comfort my body, comfort my soul, and make believe all on my own, this is all.
Yeah, and again.
Comfort my body, comfort my soul, and make believe all on my own, this is all.
Yeah. Cool. Let's choose to go through the next song. I want to kind of just pick out bits like this, a few of them, so you get a sense of ways that you can work on these to make them as easy as possible.
So this would probably be. I feel like magic carpet, supersonic. You get me on it now, and then my heart would hardly break. All the promise you couldn't keep, but I won't tell you when and what to say. I won't tell you when and what to say. Such a
Mostly good. So that when you go into that, I will tell you what I want to say. That last bit. See if you can make it real small and kind of edgy and quiet, like we're doing in those little exercises, and just control it rather than letting it get wide like that. Get it real small and quiet and edgy on that heady bit is what I mean, and see what you can get out of it. We'll see if it coordinates better.
my heart would hardly break. All I promise you couldn't keep, but I won't tell you when and what to say.
Let's stop there. So as soon as you're going to tell, that's where it's got to come right down. Just for now, I want it to be real small. Think there. Think a little bit of that. Real small and tight.
Tell you when and what to say.
Yeah, that was better. That tell
It
was
feels
better.
like airy.
It's a little bit edgier. It's
Tell
fine.
you when and what to say. I won't tell you when and what to say.
Yeah, it's okay.
Tell you when and what to say. It still goes up to that bit.
Yeah, I mean, when you say airy, I'm assuming that you're kind of making you want that to be heady.
No. I want it to be more like.
You want it to be like that. You mean do you want it to be fuller? But that is, I mean,
I just want
it's
it
pretty
to be
high
like,
up there. Where does it get to? You could do it. Do the melody on like a.
There it is.
Do the melody like on a. Yeah. Yeah. Now see if you can put a bit more air through, but. Yeah. Smaller. See if you can find the middle ground between that real tiny one and what you just did. That's okay. Each time. When you go, so when you go into tell, you want to be getting into that coordination more. The reason it's tough is because that tell is wide and it's with a T that isn't a voiced consonant, which makes you want to kind of push a bit more air through and lose some of the coordination, which is why it gets hard. So the most important is you got to hit that tell. If you hit the tell right, the rest of it's kind of going to work. So do we again on the as small and controlled as you can. Yeah, now do we tell.
Tell.
It's okay.
We tell. We tell.
And then just go into tell and see what happens when you do the line like that.
Tell me when and what to say. I won't tell you when and what to say.
Yeah, that's better.
Tell you when and what to say. I won't tell you.
Now that there, when you got up to there, that one pulled more than the last one. The last one you had it better. Yeah, try not to pull up to that when you open up on that. Keep that coordination working. That pulled less, yeah. Again.
Tell you when and what to say. I won't tell you when and what to say.
Yeah. Do you feel how when you keep that coordination there, your face tells the story. It's like you see it. When it widens, it's like you feel it, you kind of hear it a little bit. The face tells when she's coordinating it better. The face is more relaxed because she's trusting the coordination's working, which allows her to let go of those outer muscles more, basically. The more this is working correctly, the more everything else just relaxes. And that's really like what natural singing comes down to is using the right muscles so that it allows all those outer muscles to let go more and more and more. That was good. That there, what you felt is how you got to kind of chip away at that. Let's do the next one. There's one more I think you did on. How many did you do when I saw you? 4 or 5?
I think did.
Yeah, I think so. I need to get in this camera shot a bit more because it's going to just be.
No, don't. Get out.
I did before. This stupid microphone. I'm going to do this.
And try to think which bit this is.
Here. There we go. Okay.
Probably be.
This will be better. Yeah, I like this one. I love the little walk up. It's very good. This is probably my favourite song you do actually. Is there a bit in it that's hard?
Probably the chorus. Over now.
Okay, yeah.
Got so many blessings I just don't know. But I think I do it higher.
Where do you normally do it? Just do it real tiny. But it's over now.
It's over now. I got so many blessings I just don't know. Got so many blessings I just don't know what to count them in my head. When I'm wishing things were different, I forget about my fortune. It's the end bit when it goes over now. I got so many blessings I just don't know how to count them in my head. When I'm wishing things were different, I forget.
The forget. Is it the forget or
Forget.
Yeah. Do the forget. Keep it controlled and small. Don't let it get out of control like that. You're pretty much there.
Wishing things were different, I forget.
Yeah, that was better. Even though you had no sound, it was
forget.
less pull. To try again.
Wishing things were different, I forget.
Yeah, that's okay.
Wishing things were different, I forget.
It's cool.
Wishing things were different, I forget.
Yeah. Settle into it. And just execute it.
Wishing things were different, I forget.
Yeah, it's cool.
Wishing things were different, I forget.
So now, when you go back, do the chorus again, like as you would though. So one thing that's hard is because you're trying to move between different compression levels and stuff, which is tricky. So sometimes people don't realise, they say, oh, well, you're going into falsetto there. And it's like, yeah, well, it might be a stylistic choice. It might be a technical limitation. It could be a number of things. But also, it's hard to change compression levels and keep it under control. Like,
what is compression?
Well, the amount of squeeze so that you're engaged. So, like, when you do this, you've got the first part of the chorus where you have, it's more it's a shift in compression. Yeah, you go from heavier to lighter. It's hard to do because you've got to manage that variable and you've got to do the pitch. It's in some ways it can be harder to shift around compression levels than it can be just to stick on one. Different challenges, but people misunderstand it sometimes. So go back to it. Do it small once, control it, and then do it as you would perform it as best you can.
Over now, wishing things were different, I forget. Wishing things were different, I forget. Wishing things were different, I forget.
Yeah. Sing. So the more you can settle into that, just how you did it there, it will get easier. When sometimes, even when you're doing it small like that, it's basically there, but a smidge sometimes it wants to kind of reach a touch. So the idea is over time you're trying to work towards just where you do it on that. The reason that works so well is because it just sounds stupid. So you're not thinking about singing, you're just coordinating the voice. And that's what's so hard for singers to get their head around sometimes, is like the best singers are really focusing on what they're doing more so than the outcome. Now the outcome's obviously important because you want to fit in, you want people to like your music, but outside of that, a lot of the time, like when we do something that sounds stupid, it helps us to get out of all of that kind of brain garbage and just execute the coordination like literally like a robot. Yeah, so you're trying to get really objective with it and just be a machine temporarily, and then when you get on stage, obviously you don't want to do that. But it's just like, in one sense, when we work on technique really objectively like this, we're trying to whittle it down to very really just mechanics, and like really get away from, for this particular type of application, really get away from worrying about how pretty it sounds, how much it's connecting with the audience on an emotional level. It's like we're all totally on one side. We're very like biased towards the logic and the mechanics right now when we work in this way, if that makes sense. And then when we work on other things like the artistry stuff. I don't really work with you on because you've already got all that. You're already a musician. When I met you, you already had a good sound and you knew what you wanted to do. All I do with her is just try and make it easier for her to execute it. I don't worry about any of her stylistic choices. She's done all that herself. And so when we do this type of practice, it's like, we're just getting very logical and mechanical. And the more we can get away from that other stuff, it will help a lot with just the execution and helping to develop that side of it. Great music is a balance between the logical, mechanical side of your mind and the creative, intuitive side of your mind, essentially. And when we're working on technique, often we are just on the mechanical side a lot of the time.
Two sides.
which is why. But anyway, let's go back to this. We're doing and then quiet and small with the words, and then I want you to kind of do the whole chorus once through after that. But yeah.
I've gone down the octave.
Yeah.
It's so
cheat.
easy.
I was cheating. Do this. Go. And don't give yourself any space. Yeah. See if you can give yourself no space to set up the top one. So, have a listen. If you go and kind of give myself a gap, it allows the reach. It's almost like I just straight into it with no. Don't give yourself any time to reach. Just do. Yeah, and again. Yeah, and again. Yeah. Yeah. See if you can get a little bit more tighter on that squeeze on the top, but the pattern's correct now. That's right. Yeah. See, when you do it that way, your face tells a story. Like it's like you're not reaching. So just do the whole chorus now as you would, and it doesn't really matter how it comes out. We're just go through it.
Over now, I got so many blessings I just don't know how to count them in my head. When I'm wishing things were different, I forget about my fortune. I forget that I've been fed.
Fed or found?
Fed.
Fed.
Do you think it's found? I said
I never
fed.
listened to the words. I always thought it was found there.
I forget that I've been found.
Found, fed. Well, how did I think that? It's weird. I don't even listen to words when I listen to songs. Really, I do a little bit, but
That's what.
I kind of just.
But it's going in your brain and affecting the way you think.
It is.
You should start listening to that far right wing
I need to
political
listen to some
band.
feminist singers so that I can understand.
Yeah, it's forget that I've been fed, because some people don't have food.
More than some, probably
A lot of people.
Probably billions. 2
It's
billion.
about gratitude. It's about remembering what I've had, what I have. I need to sing this song every day because I'm terrible.
Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to just go over that because when I'm working on technical stuff like this, that's how I break it down anyway. Into like if it's tricky.
You have all this knowledge of like that's a pure vowel, the compression. I like the it's getting myself into the mechanical mind and then out of the mechanical mind and into the artist mind.
Yeah, I think
It's the mechanical mind I struggle more.
Cultivate that over time where you start to, because it took me quite many years to really understand this separation and really trying to practice in that way more. And I think, because really what it is that on average most people, they're not asking that much of themselves day to day. So with music it's hard, and it's hard to do well. It really is hard to do well. And so in order to do it well, you end up getting backed into a corner where you have to basically start to understand your mind as best you can and how it works and what parts of your mind are going to be useful for certain tasks and what parts are going to be useful for other tasks and what parts are going to degrade some tasks or make some tasks harder. Like the stuff,
How did you
all
do
that
that?
technical stuff. If
You
you
have
get all if you have brain, if you have, well, I'm the opposite of You're quite balanced actually as a person, but I'm more.
No, I'm not.
When
I just show you a
started-
balanced side.
No, your basic character is relatively balanced. I'd say between the masculine and feminine. I guess. I don't mean you don't. You're not. So, because I was originally much more biased towards the mechanical, logical stuff, that stuff comes more naturally to me than the more intuitive stuff that I've had to work for more, and I'm still working on now. But it's the opposite for some people. Some people like all that stuff's very easy, but then they find it very, very difficult to even focus on the mechanics because it's just dull to them, because all they want to do is express and emote and connect with people emotionally, and like that's their main focus. So depending on the person, like it can be easier or harder. Like some people are more able to kind of go both ways. Some people are really swinging one way or the other. Like if you think of like not so many singers, but I guess like some of those guitar players like Joe Satriani and what's his name, Steve Vai, they're very much like really leaning really far over into the logical side of the mind, more so, very like not really very intuitive or emotional, and there's pluses and minuses for both. But good singers need a little bit of each really, because I'd say it's better to be intuitive and emotional than as a singer first. I think you have the advantage, because the problem with singers like me is like just get into all sorts of trouble, and you're just like emotionally dead inside.
Dead inside.
I don't know. This, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to take each person as they come. Like everyone's different with all this stuff. We're just talking generalities, really.
Generally.
You get plenty of girls who are very logical, and plenty of guys who are the opposite. You know, very intuitive and emotional. You could do, but yeah, when we work on the mechanics like that, it's good to just get away from worrying about the artistic side of it and how it sounds, and just get down to the brass tacks of what you're actually executing. And those silly sounds can help, because like they don't sound nice, and you get away from singing. It
takes away even the thought of it, like you were saying.
Because a lot of singers are really preoccupied with sounding pretty and sounding nice, too much, so much so that it actually it compromises the technique, compromises their ability to execute, because they're not even focusing on what they're doing anymore, which is what ironically is what makes that result in the first place. What makes it sound good is what you're physically doing. You know, just like on the guitar, if you've got really clunky motions and it's out of time and all that stuff, like it just won't sound very good, and it's for the same reasons. It was good today. I'm real pleased with that. The little stuff, technical stuff we did at the start of today, because both you're coming along and I'm coming along as well at the minute, which is nice. So congrats, lovely to see you. We'll do it again.
You're nice and warm.
Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you want my help personally, you can book a one-on-one training session. Drop me a message. My email is in the description. And if you feel like this message was of value, then please feel free to make a donation equal to that value. Again, donation link is in the description. And finally, please share this video with other singers you know. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up. And I will see you in another video. Bye.